Alright guys, this is my early 90s ROWE CD51 CD jukebox. I got the display taken out right now. I just got those top CDs to work. I got a bunch of CDs loaded in there. The central control computer was replaced before I got the machine, but they said after they replaced it, it still wouldn't play a CD, and they thought it was just a programming issue. I had a feeling it was the Pro Player, but I got it at a price where if I needed to replace the Pro Player, I would still have gotten a good deal on the jukebox. Let me show you guys what's going on, and before I spend the $275 on a Pro Player or the $150 to have my current one rebuilt, I'm going to try to replace just the optical sensor or the optical laser myself. I was able to find new old stock, guaranteed to work for 90 days on eBay for $19.50 with shipping. So let me show you what's going on here. I'll show you how I replaced the optical sensor, and we'll go from there. So this is what I got going on. So if you go to type in a number, we'll just do 4802. Alright, so it will function properly. Grab the CD, place it down, but watch it spin. So it starts and stops, and it will try it again. And nothing. So it was showing a 50 series error code. Let's see if we have any codes in there now. Service mode, we'll go 8. Status, we'll go 0. Error history, we'll go popular. No errors. We'll go to reset, popular, back to service mode. I don't know. It was showing a 50 series error code, now it's not. We'll try that optical laser, and we'll get that switched in. So I'll cut back in when the laser shows up and we swap it out. Alright, so this is how you remove your Philips Pro Player from your ROWE CD jukebox. What you're going to need is a 1/4-inch nut driver. If you don't have a 1/4-inch nut driver, just a normal screwdriver with these Phillips tips or flathead tips or whatever you stick in there. This is a 1/4-inch. So you can just pull that Phillips tip out or whatever and use this. What you're going to want to do is make sure your power switch is off. You can unplug the jukebox if you want to, but just having the power switch off will do. You're going to want to lift this, and then on these two corners you'll see a little Z-shaped bracket, and it has these 1/4-inch little bolts that hold those Z-shaped brackets down. You don't have to completely remove them, just loosen them enough, and then you can turn these brackets and get them out of your way. Now there's 3 wires connected to this Pro Player. 2 of them are the exact same. They are 4-prong connectors. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that when you take these out, you pay attention. This one closest to you right here is going to have a black line going down the side of it. That's your 5 volts into the Pro Player. You want to make sure that you get that back into where it goes. So with the player facing you, all the way to the far right is where it goes. And to get this player out, once you undo those Z brackets, you just lift it up, you undo the 5 volts, and then you undo these 2 in the back. The 2 in the back are not the same, and there's only 2 plugs in the back, so you can't go wrong and mess those up. But the smaller one that's in the back and your 5 volts in are the same size, and you can swap those around, but they usually stay pretty good to where you are. So once you pull this out, we're ready to go in there and replace the optic. This thing will only go in there one way. As you'll notice, if you set it in there and it comes down, your magnetic CD hold will only line up with it that way. If you had it in there backwards when you're going to put it in there, it won't line up. So you'll know which one's the front. And so when it's in there, your front is your 5 volts, and it's the one that has a black stripe going down the right-hand side. All right, so I got the Philips Pro Player here. Now to take this thing apart, what you're going to need is a T10, and I believe it's a T4 Torx bit. So I just ended up ordering this little set off of Amazon. It's like $5. That was too big. What we got there? That's T15. I had another set and I have no idea where it went, so I just ordered me another one. If I can get them out here. T9, naturally. T10. That should be that. Yeah. So there's going to be 4 screws. I got a little Gatorade cap here to put them in. I already took 2 of these screws out just to make it a little easier. But you'll see 4 screws on the back. Going to go ahead and pull those out. And these are a T10 Torx. Now, you're going to want to be kind of careful with this, especially this little ribbon cable here that goes to your motor assembly, because you're not going to be replacing that. On either side of it, you'll see 2 little clips that you just got to pop up with a little screwdriver or something. On this one, my pocket knife's going to be easier. But you don't want to damage that little ribbon cable. So you pop those little clips up, the cable pulls right out. We're going to do the same thing for the optical laser assembly. There we go. Now when I set this board, I like to set it just like that so I know how it goes back in there. Now that we're in here, now we're going to need our T4. So here's my T4. Let me double check. No. I'm sorry, it's a T6. A T6 is what you need. So I'll get it in my screwdriver here. Now, on one side of the board, you're going to see 2 of these T6 screws that holds down this white piece of plastic. You're going to take that off first. You're going to get that removed. We'll put that in our Gatorade lid. Pull out the second one. And we're just going to set that right like that. Now, to get this thing out of there, we want to shove it back a little bit. So to do that, we're going to pull this screw out a tad bit that holds this motor clip down. Pull back the clip on this motor, and then lift that motor wheel up just enough that we can slide the optic without any problem. Okay. Now you'll see there's 2 screws that got to come out. Make sure I take the proper ones out. Alright. It's the one that's closest to the motor. And it holds 2 little clips down. So that screw comes out, and then this little clip comes out. And that little clip is what holds in the rod that this laser actually rides on. So we're going to pull this other one out. It's a little easier. I say that. We got those clips and those screws out. So now, this laser assembly should just lift right up out of there. Might take a little work to get it out of there, but there we go, comes right up out of there. Now, this is your gear that this thing actually rides on. And see, mine was kind of already broken, but it sits right in there like that. We'll save that in case the new one didn't come with it. Now on the end of this laser and end of this rod, there's two little rubber bushings on each side. You only need to pull one off, and you can pull the rod right out of the laser. So there's our old optical assembly. Here's my new one that just came. Try to get this little box open. A nice little static cleaning bag. So here's our new optic. It does have the gear on it, so we don't have to worry about that. Now we're going to try to orient this the same way the other one was. So with the motor towards you, the cable's going to be farthest away. We're going to slide our rod back in. Trying to be very careful. Okay, it's in. On the end of the rod, we're going to reapply our little rubber bushing. And now, we're going to try to set this laser back in there without damaging anything. This is the fun part. Kind of helps you start with the laser all the way towards the front and kind of work it in there like that. So now we're going to reinstall this little clips that hold those rods in there. These don't have to be super crazy tight. Just, you know, tight enough that they're not going to go anywhere. You don't have to put all your muscle into them or anything crazy like that. I got this screw in there upside down. A little pair of tweezers here might come in handy, but you can definitely do it without them. Again, be sure not to kink or pinch your ribbon cable. Get that spun around and back onto that little rubber bushing. Make sure that clip's lined up so as you tighten that screw, it seats right. Got it right. Pull the tip of that motor back up and slide this back forward to where it was, and then you can click that little motor back down into its home. Tighten up that clip that held on that motor. Come back over here, grab the little white piece we removed. try to set it back in there as gently as possible. Get it all screwed back down. Come back and grab our board. I'm going to start with the motor plug. Or the motor ribbon cable. Make sure your little clips haven't fallen back down. With it all the way in there, push those two side tabs down again. We're going to remove the protective clip off of our optical laser assembly. Fold it back just like the last one was. Make sure we get it slid down in there properly. Then as you push these clips in, oh, that side's not wanting to go. You know what? I'm going to take the motor side out and do this one first because it's not wanting to go. Alright guys, so there ended up being a burr just on the very edge of that ribbon cable on the right, and it wouldn't let it slide all the way in there, so I just very slightly trimmed it with these scissors, just very slightly. You can see you have a little bit to play with, but you definitely don't want to cut any of the circuitry in there. So I just barely trimmed just a little bit off and it slid right in. So we'll get this all put back together. Alright, so now that I got that fixed, just had to trim a little piece off that side there, and that took care of it. Now I'm going to fold this back over this way and get that ribbon cable for the motor assemblies pushed in there. Nice and evenly. And then push those clips back down. Nice little tug so you know it's in there. And this thing's ready to go back together. Switch this out to my T10. Put in a screw. And another screw. Alright, and there we should be good to go. Let me go get all this stuff moved over to the jukebox and I'll show you how to put it back in. Alright, we're back at the jukebox. Real easy again. the two prongs on the back go away from you, and these two cables go in there. This one with the black stripe on it is your voltage. It goes on the right hand side. Set the Pro Player back in. Rotate your Z clips. Tighten them down. Again, they don't have to be super tight, just enough to hold it. Lightly. Drop that. All right, let's give it some power. Let it go through its checks. And let me select a song here and we'll see what happens. It's better than we've had. And it's playing.